It was nearly a decade ago that young gay men were found dismembered and buried in shallow graves. These remains were uncovered in Newton County. 28 gay men were dead before Larry Eyler was finally convicted in Illinois for one of the murders. The police task force formed to investigate the killings still believe Eyler committed the majority of the other murders. Law enforcement officials hope that the latest murders do not stump them for as long or claim as many lives. For the record dating back to 1985, 5 bodies have turned up in Ohio. The latest corpse remains unidentified. All the victims were strangled and all hailed from central Indiana. Our place is a popular gay night spot. One of the victims, Clay Russell Boatman's car, was recovered here. Authorities believe all of the victims frequented gay bars here in Indianapolis. Local gay activist Stan Berg believes police have conducted a conspiracy of silence on the murders.
We have had no knowledge that any of this has been going on. None whatsoever. Zero, zip. The police, you would think, after 3 or 4 of these cases reared their ugly heads, that they would have contacted members of the gay community and attempted to let them know that there was some sort of a possibility of a mass murderer out there. They have not done that.
Berg, through his newspaper, will begin getting the word out to members of the gay community that patronize bars like our place, but he has a warning for police.
It's going to be hell to pay on the part of the police, because we want these murders solved, and we want them solved more than any other group does, because they affect our community.
Police say they will meet with leaders of the gay community. A time has not been set. Derek Thomas, 6 News.
The bodies were all in a row in heavy brush behind an unoccupied farmhouse along US 41 near Lake Village, Indiana. Police spent much of today digging at the site after mushroom hunters discovered the first body last evening.
The bodies were all very systematically put, especially the 3. They were placed about 3 feet apart, their feet to the north, their heads to the south. Their trousers, and we're presuming, due to the clothing, we're only presuming at this time that they were for males. We don't know for sure due to the advanced state of decomposure. Their pants were pulled down around their ankles on all 4 of them.
Differences in decomposition suggested the bodies had been placed here at different times, but when or how the victims died was impossible to determine immediately. In nearby Chicago and in central Indiana, several gay-related murders involved victims partially buried with their pants pulled down to the ankles. But police declined to speculate today that the 4 newly discovered deaths could be linked to the others.
We're going to leave the speculation up to you folks at this particular time. We can only go by the facts that we have. We have 4, the remains of 4 humans here. We believe them to be males, and I don't think we want to get into speculating as far as law enforcement or at least the state police at this time.
Has the Gay Murders Task Force in Indianapolis been notified about this?
Yes, they are cognizant that what we have here at this particular time and everything that we have will, of course, be shared with that task force.
Why did you notify them?
We felt there were some similarities, as you already have suggested.
This is Tracy Horth. According to members of the gay community, the 9 deaths are related. The person responsible is a sexual psychopath and will kill again.
Members of the gay community would like to help find the guilty person. Stan Berg, publisher of the Works magazine, said they've offered their help to investigators several times, but to no avail.
At no time has any member of law enforcement sat down with representatives of the gay community and allowed us to examine these murders on a case-by-case basis to see if the police, due to their ignorance of the local gay community, might have overlooked important clues.
We might be able to educate them towards the gay community, and they might be overlooking clues because of their ignorance of how the gay community works.
For example, these people are convinced the videotape cameras used downtown have chased the killer from this area to other heterosexual establishments to find the next victim, like Mike O'Reilly. All 3 representatives said they do not have enough information to state whether or not the man was gay, but to them that's not even the point.
Because if Mr. O'Reilly wasn't gay, 8 of them were. And there seems to be somebody that's attacking our community. This is just the most blatant act of violence against our community.
Investigators say they have contacted the gay community, but the community says not enough. Works News magazine has set up a telephone hotline to take calls from anyone with information on Mike O'Reilly. Police, however, say they would prefer those calls to come to them. Tracy Horth for the news, Channel 6.
The body was found evidently dumped from an isolated bridge southeast of Greenfield. The body found lying face up in the water, bruises around the neck, a black eye, and a bump on the head. Mickey Riley had been missing 8 days since leaving a Broad Ripple nightclub with an unidentified man. Riley's worried parents had waited for his phone call, which never came. And last night at the Hancock County Hospital, their worst fears were realized when they identified the body as that of their son.
This isolated bridge is a long way from that Broad Ripple night spot where Mickey Riley was last seen. And it's also a long way from where a lot of other young Indianapolis men, like Riley, have met a similar fate.
In the past couple of years, at least a half dozen local men have been found dead in rural areas surrounding the city. One strangled, 2 stabbed, others with no determined cause of death. While the Hancock County Sheriff has no obvious cause of death for Mickey Riley yet, he says he must treat his death as a homicide and in some ways similar to the others.
Well, I think the age and young man of that type, and I don't know of any other ones, really, any other similarities at this time. There have been a couple of bodies. The method of the killing is different in several of the cases, so the similarities really aren't that close.
But there's something else that may be significantly close in similarity to other victims. Riley apparently frequented bars where homosexuals were known to go. That determined when Marion County deputies visited this near Northside bar last week. The producer of the bar's floor show knew Riley, and when deputies showed him the sketch of the unidentified man Riley was last seen with, he said he knew him too.
Through the rumors of the grapevine, he is a Vietnam veteran and he is psychotic.
What do you mean psychotic?
Psychotic in the respect that after a couple of drinks he seems to go schizoid, schizophrenic, changes his attitudes. He carries pins and knives in his boots. He wears motorcycle boots.
Hancock and Marion County investigators discussed that information this afternoon as they began a joint investigation into Riley's death. The man described they don't call a suspect, but they know his name, and they want very much to question him tonight. Cy Jenkins for the news, Channel 6.
The crime tape came down today. After finding skeletal remains, 5 people here, investigators say the search is over. It was early last fall when Herbert Baumeister's kids found a human skull on the property. Baumeister is said to have taken it away and explained that it was somehow related to his father's work as a physician. The skull has not been seen since. About the same time, an informant told Indianapolis police that Herb Baumeister was the last one seen with a missing person they were looking for. But Baumeister refused to talk to the cops. By then, his personal and professional life was crumbling. His wife filed for divorce. He was falling deeper and deeper in debt, trying to maintain this Hamilton County estate, along with this place, a home he'd moved out of some 3 years ago in Castleton. It seems Baumeister had less than a cordial relationship with some of his neighbors here. They say he flatly refused to sell his house or even repair his house, all the time insisting that he lived here, even though the home is obviously vacant. Neighbors are curious about why Baumeister kept the house and what he has inside. And while warring with some of his neighbors, Baumeister's business was falling apart. Employees say Baumeister owes thousands of dollars in back pay and for bounce checks and other debts.
They didn't get their money, and the electricity didn't get paid, and all that stuff, so they shut the power off.
He and his wife operated 2 Save-A-Lot thrift stores in Indianapolis. They had a contract with the Children's Bureau and had agreed that a percentage of the proceeds, about $4,000 a month, would go to the Bureau. But then the money stopped, and all the Children's Bureau got was complaints about Baumeister. Some workers say his behavior was unusual.
All he would hire was teenage students or...
Boys mainly?
Boys, that's it. A couple times he said, well, I got to take him home. He'll leave, and he doesn't come back until noon the next day.
The Children's Bureau ended the contract with Baumeister 2 weeks ago. About the same time, human bones surfaced again at his estate.